Hi, it's Dwyer, digitalassetlife.com. Also, gamblersadvisory.com. Today is December 9th, 2024. Folks, within the next day and a half, life might change. Let's talk about it. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Folks, tomorrow, they're going to count the votes. They're going to release the vote count at Microsoft. The board has recommended against Microsoft having a Bitcoin reserve, right? Microsoft, one of the largest market caps in the United States, has put that on the table for shareholders to vote upon. Right now, truth be told, Microsoft is a bit of a conservative company. Right? You can imagine a lot of the shareholders are institutional investors who, want to go with what they know. Don't want to fool around with, an exotic new digital asset, whatever digital assets are. Right? But just understand the asymmetry of the bet here. If Microsoft votes to have a Bitcoin reserve like MicroStrategy has right now, folks, there's going to be a deluge, right? I'm not saying it happens. What I'm saying is you want to be ready if it happens, right? Just think about the Magnificent Seven for a second. Just think about how they're copying each other, right? Who's not in an AI at this point? Meta's in an AI, Amazon's in an AI, Google's in an AI. So just understand, Microsoft, who of course is in an AI, if Microsoft suddenly announces that they're now into Bitcoin reserves, just think about, number one, the amount of money Microsoft has. Just look at the multi-trillion-dollar market cap. Just recognize that, like MicroStrategy, Microsoft conceivably could borrow money at favorable rates to buy Bitcoin, right? They could make the purchases on leverage. Understand there's a bit of an overlap. No one wants to be left behind. So if I'm a Microsoft shareholder and Microsoft announces, hey, we're going with the Bitcoin reserve, right? I'm going to expect Meta to join suit if I also have Meta stock. Understand, they're going to be members of the board of these other Mag 7 companies. And they're going to say, hey, Microsoft is into a Bitcoin reserve. How come we're not? What's the market cap of Meta? What's the market cap of Google? What's the market cap of Amazon? Right, folks? Once the idea of a Bitcoin reserve is legitimated among the Mag 7, and this is a little bit different than Elon Musk talking about memcoin Doge, right? You and I know Bitcoin is different. Once a Bitcoin reserve gets legitimated with the Mag 7, folks, there's going to be huge demand. And understand, I'm not even talking about spot Bitcoin ETFs, which recently surpassed Satoshi Nakamoto's holdings. Right? I'm just talking about, these Mag 7 companies not just limiting themselves to spot Bitcoin ETFs, but going onto centralized exchanges. You name the exchange, right? Kraken, Coinbase, and buying a lot of Bitcoin with their cash reserves. So tomorrow's vote is big. Again, I'm not saying a Bitcoin reserve passes, but I believe it's malpractice if you are a speculator to not be in on the side of the play where you're ready for what happens if it does pass. I believe now's the time. Well, now is past the time. But let's just say this is one of those times where you want to buy Bitcoin before all the corporate demand jumps in. Let me make another point to you too. MicroStrategy, I know we see Michael Saylor all over the place. I know he's at risk of being overexposed. But understand, MicroStrategy is a publicly traded company. Think about what's happened with MicroStrategy. Right? Not only, of course, is the stock price up huge, right? But understand, you have derivatives now out there, right? You have a single stock ETF, MSTX. Take a look at its record, right, out there. You have others based on MicroStrategy stock that's out there that are, dealing in multiples, 1.75x of MicroStrategy's moves. At least that's the goal for the MSTX ETF. Right now, keep in mind, people don't realize it, but you have leveraged ETFs for companies like Amazon, for example. AMZU. Take a look at it. Right? They're trying to use options, futures contracts to do better than the stock price of Amazon. Right now, my point to you is, given all the leveraged ETFs for the Mag 7 stocks, if they hop in the water, folks, all of these markets are going to start rippling. Right? All of them. It could start with Microsoft's vote tomorrow. Let's pay close attention. The board, of course, said, hey, we recommend against this. Right? The board must not realize that Bitcoin is over $95,000 a coin right now and is one of the best performing assets of calendar year 2024. Right? Maybe the Microsoft board feels more comfortable with fiat dollars, right? Which is hard to believe. Sooner or later, you understand that even the Mag 7 is going to have Bitcoin reserves. Right, folks? Donald Trump is talking about the United States having a Bitcoin reserve. If you're a corporation and you can't do better than the public sector, then what are investors doing with you? Right, so understand, I believe a Bitcoin reserve for these Mag 7 companies is going to be an eventuality. The point I'm making here is there's an outside chance that it happens, or at least it starts, tomorrow. Pay close attention to that Microsoft vote, right? Understand, too, just a few other things. You know how Microsoft has Copilot, and, every time you look, they're reminding you of their AI capability, right? You do a search, and they come back. The AI response is now at the top of your page, particularly if you're using, of course, a Microsoft browser, right, Bing or what have you. Folks, once Microsoft embraces Bitcoin, could you imagine them pushing Bitcoin on their user base in the same way? Right? You're talking about the ability to automate payments. All of these companies accept payments, right? I, pay for Google Meet, for example, right? If they extend to a Bitcoin reserve, then there is no justification. If you trust Bitcoin enough to have a reserve, there's no justification for claiming that Bitcoin is too unreliable to use as a means of payment. So if Microsoft tomorrow cracks the door, folks, expect that door to be blown off the hinges. Expect most of these Magnificent Seven companies to embrace Bitcoin reserves and the use of Bitcoin on a far deeper level. Let me make another point too. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, right? I have a Substack page on cryptocurrency. Readers, and there is a free subscriber level. Readers at Dwyer70905.substack.com. Let me show that again. Dwyer70905.substack.com. Readers know that I feel that the real action is going to be in the altcoin renaissance that follows this Bitcoin boom. Right, folks? Altcoins are doing a lot of interesting things. Right, so just understand, once Bitcoin is embraced by some of the biggest market cap publicly traded companies in the world, right, and that's who the Mag 7 are, then you're going to have them also look at other cryptos. And I believe some interesting questions are going to be asked. Right? Isn't the ongoing costs of using traditional finance greater than what it would cost us to use decentralized finance? Then, of course, you're going to have some interesting questions. Which digital assets in the DeFi world do we trust? Right, there'll be a transition. No one is going to throw their books over to DeFi overnight, at least not the highest market cap companies. But folks, understand it's coming. Then you're going to have some other questions. What are we earning on our cash reserves right now? If we were to stake this cryptocurrency, how much would we earn? There are even other questions that can be asked, right? You know, Bitcoin, with the right massaging, could actually be used for DeFi. Now, I don't want to get too deep in the woods here and lose the audience, but just understand, tomorrow could be the first step on this journey. All that has to happen is for Microsoft shareholders to vote in favor of having a Bitcoin reserve. That's all. Let me close by saying this. You understand that spot Bitcoin ETFs now exceed, as I said earlier, Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin holdings. Right? You understand that. You understand that these Bitcoin ETFs are among the fastest growing ETFs in history. Right, folks? Who do you think are buying the spot Bitcoin ETFs? If your answer is the same institutional investors who will be voting in the Microsoft Bitcoin Reserve vote, then there's a chance this thing just might pass. Right? If you want to front run the market, right? If you were planning on buying Bitcoin later in the week and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? Why don't I buy it now when it's cheaper just in case Microsoft votes to have a Bitcoin reserve? Well, player, now's the time to make your move. Those are my thoughts. Let me hear yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.